the States.
How are you, my friend? What time is it there with you?
It's 6:30 here. 6:30.
So 6 at night?
Yeah,
6 at night?
It's 6:30 at night. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
DDP,
We're past 1.
DDP, if I can start off by bringing you right back to the start of your wrestling career. How did you first get involved in wrestling, and what made you decide that this was the career for you? Was there many setbacks and tough times where you may have considered on taking a different career route before you got your big break with American Wrestling Association in 1988 before signing on the dotted line for WCW in 1991?
Oh, that's a bunch of questions,
Yeah.
but I'll give you a bunch of answers.
No problem.
I tried wrestling when I was 22. That was in 1976. Had about 3 matches. I sucked. I twisted my knee and hurt my knee. I hit by a car when I was a kid, and it hit my right knee, and my face bounced off the hood, and I flew 42 feet from the point of impact, and I aggravated that old injury, and it took me out of trying to become a wrestler, and I got to run a small rock and roll bar at the age of 22 years old. So I sort of got lost in having too much fun in the booze, the broads, and the party.
Yeah.
And sort of stopped watching wrestling and everything because it started to blow up in the 80s, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't pay my dues. And because I knew in my soul that I should have been a part of that whole rock and wrestling thing. So in '88, I decided to go after my dream, but I thought I was too old to be a wrestler. So I tried to be a wrestling manager, and I was lucky. I got picked up by the AWA. I made a videotape of myself, a guy who wanted to be an announcer, 3 guys who wanted to be wrestlers. One was a midget, Ted E. Bear. I came up with storylines for them, cut promos that could show I could talk, and I sent them to the AWA, and 2 weeks later they called me. Yeah. Now, if I would have known that the odds were 1,000,000,000 to 1,
yeah,
I don't think I ever would have put the time and effort into it, because, the odds of getting picked up, forget as a wrestler, which they're ridiculous, that they'd ever get picked up, period. But to be a manager, considering that there was only like 6 guys, maybe 8 guys in the business at the time, I don't think I would have done it, but ignorance is bliss. So I made this VHS tape, and I sent it to the AWA, and 2 weeks later they called me, and they told me they wanted me to come in for a tryout with me and the boys that I was managing.
Yeah.
And at the end of that comment, they said, "But I have a question for you. I've showed your tape around. Everybody thinks you're pretty entertaining. We all are sitting around asking ourselves, where's this guy working?
Yeah.
Because no one's ever heard of you." And I was like, well, none of those guys can wrestle. They were like, what? Why would you send us the tape? I go, well, they want to be a wrestler. They just, it's like a secret society. No one knows how to get in, and I said I could wrestle. I could manage. I could be a manager right now while those guys are training. And it was basically, don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, Paulie Dangerously, who's better known as Paul Heyman, left the AWA and went to the NWA, which is right before it became the WCW, owned by Ted Turner. Paul left, which left a big void for someone that could talk. So they gave me an opportunity 2 weeks after that and brought me in for a tryout, and that's how I got my break. And for 3.5 years, between Florida Championship Wrestling, working with and for Dusty Rhodes, the late, great Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. He gave me every break that ever meant anything, and I will be eternally grateful. He was one of my best friends. It was a dark day when I heard that he had passed, but I knew he wasn't taking care of himself, and I begged him numerous times, let me help you, Dream. Let me help you. And he's like, Dallas, I'm going to be fine. I'm fine. And I knew he wasn't fine. And then his health got really bad, and then he passed. But he taught me a lot, Florida Championship Wrestling. He brought me in as a color commentator. And when he gave me the gig, I was like, Dusty, I can't do that. I said, I don't want to tell you something I can't do. I don't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. And he took a big drag of his cigar, and as he blew the smoke out of his mouth, he said, don't worry about it, baby. Gordon gonna walk you through it all. He's talking about Gordon Soley.
Yeah.
You know, the late, great Gordon Soley, probably maybe the best color commentator of all time. Jim Ross, I would put it right up there with him. But both completely different styles. Jim was perfect for the Attitude Era and all that other great wrestling that he announced. Gordon was good for the early days because he made you think the shit was real.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I got to train with him for a year and a half. I got to work with him by his side. And for 3.5 years, it cost me money to be Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
And then I finally got the opportunity to go to WCW, and they brought me in as a manager. I got to manage the Freebirds, which Michael P.S. Hayes was another guy that sort of took me under his wing a little bit, especially, you know, when I was still managing. He liked me. He'd return my phone calls. So would Dusty. He'd return my phone calls. When I got to WCW and Dusty put me with the Freebirds, he didn't even know me and Hayes were buddies. And Michael said to Jimmy Garvin, he said, this guy's got some chops, but let's see how good he really is. Diamond, you've got the whole interview. We're going to start out with our backs to the camera. You're going to walk in from in between us and cut the promo that's going to put us on the race for the World Championship titles.
Yeah.
And talk about pressure, you know, but I nailed it. Michael loved it. Dream loved it. Jimmy loved it. And we were off and running. And then Scott Hall called me, who I worked with and just missed him in the AWA.
Yeah.
But I worked with him in Florida Championship Wrestling. And he convinced me to help him out. His wife was pregnant with his son, Cody, who today is 24 years old and working in Japan with the Bullet Club. And he was pregnant. His wife was pregnant. He needed a job bad. That was the day I started creating the what would be known to everyone as the Razor Ramon character, but it started as the Diamond Stud.
Yeah.
From the black hair to get rid of the mustache to the 5 o'clock shadow to the toothpick. All of that was created in WCW. And Scott never forgot it. You know, years later, he would return the favor and help me at a time that I really needed it.
Yeah. And Diamond, if I can bring you on to WCW, for the next decade, to 2001, you became a 3-time world champion, competing against all the big names of the wrestling industry, which, while at the time WCW was embroiled in a TV ratings duel with WWF, was this the most exciting and rewarding era of your wrestling career? And did you ever feel at that time the WCW bubble would burst in 2001?
Well, the entire 96, 97, 98, 99 were unbelievable years for me.
Yeah.
You know, you see some people on the internet, how they like to talk, and, I've seen some people say that, DDP started to get his push while the company was tailing down. My hottest I ever was when we just started kicking the WWF's ass.
Yeah.
And my ratings when I was on were fly. They were unbelievable. It was an unbelievable ride. In 1997 and 98, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated, top 500 wrestlers in the world, Stone Cold Steve Austin was number 1. Good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Both years, I was number 4.
Yeah.
So easily, I was one of the top 10 talents in the world at the time. And it was an unbelievable ride.
Yeah.
Finally I think they should have put the strap on me much earlier, and I think it could have helped the company, especially when I was white hot.
Yeah.
I think it would have definitely really helped the company. But they chose a different route, which I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
I was living the dream on a whole different level. I knew all the inner workings because Bischoff was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And that really helped when it came to protecting me, but it didn't really help that much when it came to, getting the push.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't believe in pushing. He didn't believe in the whole nepotism thing.
Yeah.
But, I guess he did when he got to TNA. But when he was in WCW, he didn't believe in that. And he took care of me in the way that he looked out for me. But I also helped him. There is no NWO. I couldn't believe it. They actually even said that on the, I guess, the WWE's whole NWO run.
Yeah.
There's no NWO without Diamond Dallas Page because I'm the one who put everybody together. Never knowing that it was going to turn into as big as it did. I mean, who could have ever called that? But it was the most unbelievable ride. There was times you'd asked me a question earlier where I didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, for years. I didn't think I was ever going to get a shot at the WCW or WWF. And, because everyone told me it was never going to happen, and everything I was trying hadn't worked.
Yeah.
But I've learned over and over again that the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. The guy who said that was Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And it was something that's been burned into my brain. Muhammad Ali, if you talk about the repetitions of affirmations, saying you're going to do something, saying I'm going to be the world champion, say I'm going to be in WWE, say I'm going to, create a workout and it's going to change the world. Saying it over and over and over and over again. Think what Ali used to say. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest. When it came to picking the top 100 athletes of the 19th century, he was number 1.
Yeah.
Now, was he really the greatest athlete ever? Well, according to the record books, he is.
Yeah.
And he said it over and over and over. He manifested it to happen. And that's what I do with my wrestling career. That's what I've done with DDP Yoga. I just had AJ Styles over at the Performance Center because he blew his back out. Same way Chris Jericho did. Same way Dustin Rhodes, Goldust did. Same way so many of them that I turned on to DDP Yoga that, AJ has some time. He's got a couple of weeks. Didn't give me like 3 months like Jericho did or Dustin did or Ryback for that matter. He got to do it in 2 or 3 weeks. So he told me, he checks in with me, and he told me he's been doing DDP Yoga every day, sometimes twice a day, and he's already feeling a lot better. So I'm hoping that this is enough time before he gets in that ring and then starts banging the hell out of himself again, because besides guys like Jeff Hardy, I really don't know, or Rey Mysterio,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's taken bigger, more extreme bumps than AJ.
Yeah, and DDP, if I can bring you on to the issue of serious injuries suffered by wrestling entertainers, such as spine, back and neck injuries, severe concussion and head injuries, which have led to the likes of Jamie Noble, Joey Mercury, Adam Copeland and many others having to retire early. What was the severity of your injuries during your career, and was that the driving force which inspired you to found DDP Yoga?
Well, I had a lot of injuries. I've had knee surgeries. I've had shoulder surgeries. Over that period of time, with the knee and the shoulder surgeries, I learned how to rehab my body. When it came to blowing out my back, which was right at the end of '98, I was in so much pain. I had three of the top back specialists, spine specialists in the world tell me my career was over.
Yeah.
Well, I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal at that time. So I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years of my life. But I just signed a multi-million-dollar 3-year deal. I'll try anything, because I didn't get paid the big money in '97, in '98 that Sting or Macho or Hulk or Lex or any of those guys made. I didn't make the big money. My contract was on low ball.
Yeah.
I just signed for the big money. So, again, I'm going to try anything to try to keep that alive. Enter what is known today as DDP Yoga. In 3 weeks, I started to feel a significant difference with the yoga positions that I was working with.
Yeah.
But I was also doing the rehab at the time. And one night before I went to bed, I started mixing the yoga positions with the rehabilitation techniques that I've learned. Then eventually I threw in old school calisthenics, push-ups, squats, crunches. And I did it with a slow burn movement, which means I'm engaging more muscles when you do something slow and deliberate, especially in exercise. And what I figured out completely by accident, every time you flex or engage a muscle, say you're doing push-ups, and you're lowering for a 3 count or a 5 count or a 10 count, and then holding for that number, and then coming up slow with that number. You have to engage more muscles to move slower. And every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle. So what ends up happening is I created DDP Yoga, as it's known today. But what DDP Yoga is, kick-ass cardiovascular workout that will dramatically increase your flexibility and strengthen your core like never before, all with minimal joint impact. That's why I could do it. That's why the disabled veteran the disabled veteran who couldn't friggin' walk without knee braces, back braces, and canes.
That's Arthur Boorman, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why Jake, Scott, Jericho could all do it, because they were in too much pain to try to run to lose weight or, to try to do any other activity. So you have to give people who are beat up or injured or extremely overweight or really all of the three, you have to give them a low impact, in this case minimal joint impact workout that they can still burn fat with, break up scar tissue. When you break up scar tissue, it creates flexibility. When you break up scar tissue, it alleviates pain. So that's what DDP Yoga is. In less than 3 months, I was back in the ring. At 42 years old, the doctors, the spine specialists told me my wrestling career was over. At 43, I was a heavyweight champion of the world. Chris Jericho blew his back out, Dancing with the Stars. But it wasn't Dancing with the Stars that blew his back out. It was that on top of the 20 years that Chris has been taking some of the highest impact bumps on the planet. Well, at 39, he was done. He not only couldn't wrestle, he couldn't sing because he couldn't hit the high notes. And this is all stuff he talks about all the time. I sent him the video of Arthur Boorman. 5 minutes later, he called me back. He said, Diamond, you send me the program. I will do exactly what you tell me to do.
Yeah.
In 5 weeks, he was 85% pain-free. In 3 months, he was 100% pain-free, headlined WrestleMania with Punk in Miami in 2011. Today, he does one workout, DDPY, DDP Yoga. The last match he had on TV against Bray Wyatt, at 44 years young, he jumped off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
So what does DDP Yoga do? I guess it heals people.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it strengthens their body. For someone like Jake Roberts or Scott Hall, it brings back confidence.
Yeah.
Because you're losing weight, you're feeling good, you can't do these certain push-ups, or you can't do these certain lunges, or you can't get to the ground and get back up again without using a chair. But before you know it, you can. You do drop the weight. All of a sudden, you've got victories again. That builds confidence.
And
when you couldn't do something that seemed impossible, but then you can, that builds confidence.
Yeah. And DDP, if I can bring you on to a dear friend of yours, your mentor, Jake the Snake Roberts, who endured some really low points in his life once his career ended, battling alcohol and drug addictions and becoming obese and taking steroids during his career as well. Sadly, many young wrestlers' deaths have been linked to steroid abuse, such as Kurt Hinging, Davey Boy Smith, Bam Bam Bigelow and Andrew Martin. How hard of a job was it for you personally to get Jake clean from all his addictions? And was there times when he relapsed during the DDP yoga program?
Well, for starters, it's not steroids that kills the wrestlers.
Yeah.
What part probably killed the wrestlers, and they don't, you're not going to see this next generation here have a problem with this because they're not addicted to painkillers. They're not addicted to muscle relaxers.
Yeah.
They're not addicted to Xanax. And that's what happens when you have a crazy schedule and there's no policing, because, if you need, no one wants to hear when I got to an arena and I'm in the main event that DDP can't wrestle tonight.
Yeah.
They paid their hard-earned money to be there. So even if you were hurt, and I was always hurt, especially last couple of years of my career, I wasn't injured, but I was hurt. And I went out there and did what I had to do. But I didn't get addicted to the painkillers the way Jake did and so many other guys. I needed those painkillers to work. There was a point me and Jake were on the road, and early days, he was mentoring me at the time. And I saw him put a pill in his mouth and chew it up. And I thought I saw him take it out of his Percocet bottle.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I said, dude, did you just chew up a Percocet? And he said, yeah. He said, I said, why would you do that? They taste like shit.
Yeah.
He said, it gets into your bloodstream faster when you chew them. It goes right into your bloodstream. I said, really? I go, how many is that? I see you take a few of them. He said, I don't know, 9, 10. He didn't even know. I thought right then and there, when you mix pills with booze on top of that, next time you can't get away with 1 or 2. You got to take 3 or 4. And if you keep doing that, you're going to need to take 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Before you know it, you're really addicted to them. Housewives get addicted to painkillers.
Yeah.
So think what wrestlers would do.
Yeah.
So the guys who died, most of them was about the heart.
Yeah.
Because your heart is a muscle.
Yeah.
And they always say it has something to do with heart failure. Well, stop your heart. You slow down your muscle. You ate enough of those pills. But not today. Today, the WWE is the best wellness policy out there.
Yeah.
Better than the NFL or the baseball league or the NBA. Best one. And they're on top of it all the time, from NXT on out. So, when it comes down to, guys being addicted to stuff, a lot of people have addictive personalities.
Yeah.
So with Jake, it was trying to finally get him to stop beating himself up. Start trying to tell himself a different story. The movie, and I know a lot of you all out there in the UK want to know about the resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you couldn't have interviewed me at a better time, because go to JakeTheSnakeMovie.com.
Yeah.
JakeTheSnakeMovie.com.
Yeah.
Say it one more time for other people who are listening.
JakeTheSnakeMovie.com.
And I'll tell you why. You want to sign up there, because the world premiere of the resurrection of Jake the Snake, we've given iTunes an exclusive.
Yeah.
It'll only be on iTunes for the first 30 days, and then it'll go to the other devices. But iTunes has the whole preload. When iTunes, you can order ahead of time. And this is why I really wanted to go with iTunes and give them an exclusive, because we were up for the Oscar. We had made the long list. We were up for consideration for an Oscar. Now, if this story, like The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, is not a wrestling movie.
Yeah.
It's about three men. Josh Brolin is, the actor Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin, and I quote, said, "This is a story of love, friendship, and real compassion."
Yeah.
That's what this story is. And I'll guarantee you, if it was about three golfers, it probably would have won the Oscars.
Yeah.
But the people who are listening to your show right now, and they know this to be true, a lot of their friends around them, they don't really like wrestling. Yeah. The ones who love it, listen to your show.
Yeah.
They love wrestling, like I loved wrestling. I think you have to have been a mark to love it, to be as good as we were at it.
Okay.
Because you had to really love it. And I do love it, just the way Jake does it, Scott and Dusty and Superstar and all of them. But we all have those friends that we know that growing up, when you're a fan, you don't talk about wrestling in front of them, because they're going to laugh at you. They're going to put you down. They're going to fuck with you.
Okay.
Now, I've never understood that psychology, because if you don't like something, no big deal. I'm not forcing it on you. But there are wrestling people. There are people out there who not only don't like wrestling, they get mad at you for liking wrestling. Do you know some of those people?
Yeah, DDP, I'm so sorry just to cut across you. I'm afraid we've actually run out of time there. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can talk to you sometime again in the near future, if that's okay with you.
I'm just going to leave it like this. The people who get to go to JakeTheSnakeMovie.com and get the movie ahead of time.
We will.
That's how we're going to make a statement to iTunes. All right, buddy.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
Cheers. Thanks, Diamond Dallas Page. Thanks a million.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
I kept them with me, babe. I put them with my own. Can't make it all.